There are two types of people living in London, the ones who talk about leaving and the ones who actually do. However, since I don't actually live here, I decided to be the third kind, the one who comes here to spend a weekend away from home. This is my wingman, a Mercedes CLA 2022. It's not an AMG monster, but the tightly dressed, confident young brother. For the next 4 days, this is going to be my flat, my office, and my cafe, all in 4 wheels. This isn't a video about performance figures or Nürburgring laps, it's about the comfort you can get with a car like this in a city that never stops talking. And whether this so-called baby AMG can become less of a status symbol and more of a traveling safe space. First moments with any new car are like a first date. You're paying attention to all the wrong things. Does it look good? Is it trying too hard? Is this my type? However, I soon realized that this CLA is more interesting than I thought. It's not the loud AMG that turns heads on every street. It's more the friend who shows up dressed well without saying a word about it. But nobody really talks about the real test. Is the CLA a good daily companion for someone living in the city? Well, for the next 4 days, I will be putting this car to the test to see if it can survive London's traffic, tight streets, and everyday chaos. Can this baby AMG keep up with a city as busy as London? To answer this question, you have to think what you truly need when you're driving in a busy town. London, arguably one of the busiest towns in the world. Driving here will have you questioning why you bothered getting a license in the first place. So, if you're going to drive a car, it needs to give you something very important. Without giving it too much thought, you could say comfort. But comfort comes in many ways. For example, there's something about shutting that door and everything immediately getting quieter. The outside noise becomes irrelevant. This, as a result, opens up the room for conversations with anyone sitting next to you that are not distracted. It honestly feels like sitting at the comfort of your own house. Now, apart from the sensory comfort, there's also the physical comfort. And the relief of a supportive seat after walking around the city all day is something words can't describe. Then there's light, with all this ambient lighting setting your mood. Touch, with the impressive texture of the steering wheel. Or even my favorite part, the shiny looking metallic door handles. Even the heated seats add to the driver's comfort, especially on a cold and rainy day in the UK. With that being said, it does make you wonder, at what point does a car like this stop being a machine and start becoming a sofa with a number plate? That's a question we're going to come back to later in this video, because for now, we're going to Warner Bros. Studios. We just finished our lunch of burgers and lobsters, and we have around an hour drive to our destination, which is actually the perfect kind of drive for this car. Just the two of us, a full stomach, an hour of motorway ahead, and a chance to see if the CLA still feels special after a somewhat of a longish drive. Of course, we waited for the rain to start, and we are going to get a few things. I need a microfiber cloth or some sort of tissue to clean the windshield, because it has some sort of haze that I can't see in the night. Now, Diana went to grab her coat, so I'm gonna have to pull up in front of the reception to go and get her. So let's see how this goes. But before we rush off anywhere, I want to talk about this thing, because the Mercedes CLA didn't just appear one day. It was a bit of a gamble when it launched, and somehow it worked. Back in 2013, Mercedes decided that people who bought small cars might still want something that looked like a mini CLS, low, sleek, slightly impractical, but very pretty. So they took the A-Class underneath, stretched it, and called it the CLA. A 4-door coupe for people who wanted the badge and the drama without a huge footprint. The first generation was basically Mercedes saying, what if your sensible hatchback secretly wanted to be in a perfume advert?
And it worked. In its first year, they sold around 100,000 of them and called it their best launch in 20 years. The CLA carved out this weird little niche, not quite a family saloon, not quite a sports car, but something you bought because you liked the idea of it. Mercedes leaned into that. The ads weren't about luggage space or running costs, they were about mood, lose yourself, follow your own style, that sort of thing. Since that first car in 2013, the CLA has quietly grown up. The second generation that this one is part of got a bit bigger, a bit more usable, a bit more serious. Meanwhile, its job in the lineup stayed the same. Be the car people buy with their hearts. And I like that. I like that this car has always been slightly impractical on purpose. It was never meant to be the rational choice. It was meant to be the I've wanted a Mercedes since I was a kid, and this is the one I can actually afford choice.
Good morning, everyone. It is the 14th of February, and if you're a man, you know what that means. We gotta get some flowers, some champagne, some chocolates, and I know a lot of people will say this is not the point of Valentine's Day, and I agree 100%. However, if you have the chance to make it more special, why not do it? Mercedes has always wanted to make this car feel a little bit more special than a normal hatchback. And that starts before you even open the door. The stance, the coupe roofline, the front looking a little bit more aggressive. Steering is light enough that you can guide it with fingertips, but there's still a bit of weight so you don't feel disconnected. The suspension does that typical Mercedes thing where it takes the edge off bumps without making the car feel floaty. And if you put your foot on the gas, it still pushes you back.
Babe! Don't do that at home, kids.
What do you like the most about this car?
Maybe, I don't know, the comfort of the interior, I think.
That's what you like the most?
Yeah. And how shiny it is, yeah. That's such a girl answer. I can't drive this car. I would love to drive this car, but only Tasos is insured on it. So.
I'll give you to try around the hotel for sure. Whether it's actually
He's
harder.
Let me try. Why is it hard? Because it's
harder
an
there.
automatic.
Yeah, I know, but it's harder there because of the tight roads.
Why you always lying?
With the important business of flowers and mild hooliganism complete, we're back at base for step 2. Turning down the volume on everything. And we might have turned it down too much because we didn't film anything, but tomorrow the romance takes a backseat and it's back to more miles since we're visiting the city center. But tonight, this little coupe did exactly what it promised in these old commercials. It turned a normal bit of our life into something that felt a little bit more cinematic.
Good morning, everyone. It's day 3. I was expecting to record more yesterday, but we had so much fun in the restaurant and later with drinks that I got carried away. So here we are in day 3. It's absolutely lashing outside. We have a plan to visit central London and a chance to see if this car can handle Sunday traffic with this weather.
As evening fell, our plans grew more ambitious, leading us to Aquashard, a sleek restaurant perched on the 31st floor with one of the most breathtaking dining room views in all of London. This is the bit Mercedes had in mind when they built the CLA. Small enough for the city, but classy enough that it doesn't feel out of place pulling up onto one of the most photographed buildings in all of Europe. With dinner out of the way, we spent some time pretending we know how to golf, and we ended the night with a few drinks at one of our good friends' house.
Yeah, my honey come back. Sometime I'm on a red back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime.
Now there's a point in any trip where the car stops being a car and starts feeling like furniture. You know exactly how the seat supports your back, how far the steering wheel comes out, where your elbow falls in the armrest, etc, etc. That's what I call the sofa moment. When you drop into the driver's seat and your body just recognizes it. The CLA has reached that point for me even in such a short time. I'm not adjusting things anymore, I'm just falling into my spot. And as we reach to the end of our trip, it's time for me to answer some very important questions for anyone considering buying this car. In London, a daily has survived three things. Traffic that moves at walking pace, roads that look like they've been attacked with a chisel, and parking spaces that were designed when cars were smaller than your average suitcase. Over these days, the CLA has done all of that without once feeling out of its depth. The steering is light enough for tight maneuvers, the ride is firm but controlled, and the refinement means you're not finishing every journey with a headache. Yes, the boot isn't a state car big, and the rear is more friends than basketball team, but for a couple or someone that uses it as a daily, it just works. You never feel like you brought the wrong tool. Now, can this baby AMG keep up with a city as busy as London? We've taken it into central traffic, out towards Greenwich at night, across the Aquashard for dinner, back to the hotel, more times than I can count. Never once did it feel like the city was moving faster than the car. It's not about drag races here. It's about how quickly it picks up when there's a gap at a roundabout, how confidently it merges into a fast bit of road, and how readily it responds when you need to get out of the way. So yes, as far as keeping up with London goes, this car never felt outpaced. If anything, it often feels like the car is waiting for the city to catch up. Last question and my favorite, at what point does a car like this stops being a machine and starts becoming a sofa with a number plate? For me, it happened between a late night drive from Richmond and a morning run to town, when I realized I was using the CLA as thinking time, as a place to decompress between places, not just a way to get between them. When you start choosing the long way back to the hotel, not because the road is exciting, but because the car is a nice place to sit, this is when you know you've fallen in love with it. The CLA won't change your life, but it will definitely change the texture of it. And for me, that's exactly what a car like this is supposed to do. For 4 days, it wasn't just a car, it was our daily companion. And I'm gonna miss it more than I probably should. If you made it this far, thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did filming it. Till next time.